Welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Alston, and it is once again a pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. I am excited again to have another amazing speaker, professional here on this platform, because in 2018, this is the platform to be on if you are a working professional, speaker, author, or doing whatever it is that you do. Just in case you didn't know, the purpose of the BMWC is to not only share our industry information, but also to encourage you, the working professional, college students, and career seekers who want to enter their line of work. So please be sure to visit all of the pages that you see here on this website. Take a minute to listen to all the podcasts. This year we have some amazing stories coming out. And be sure to also take down a lot of good information, network, and reach out to the people who are in this community, because this is a strong community that's here to serve you. I would also like to take a moment to thank our corporate partners, Cat Serrano LLC, Sherwood Empowers, Concern and Learning, Evangelism Radio, Genesis Preferred Solutions, J Coach International, Nels Tax Help, My Financial Home, Power, STCI, and the Student Teacher, along with our other business affiliates and participants who's making this event a success. So today, as promised, we have another dynamic speaker. I see her all the time, all over social media doing her thing. I think she was on there today doing her thing, doing her live videos, and I have caught a couple of them, and I think that she is very, very dynamic, and I want to introduce to the podcast Altovise Peltzer. She is somebody who has moved from Maryland to Philadelphia. She is a best-selling author, keynote speaker. She's also the founder of the online Your Voice and Reactivate Me communities. She's also a head script writer for Breaking Free International, and she just does so many great things to help motivate women and youth to find their unique voice. She also takes women from abuse situations and help them equip them so they can define, accept, and use their unique voice as a speaker or author. So she helps them to just get to the next level. Her motto is that one size fits all, solutions for helping women who have gone through abuse. There is no one size, and that is her motto. So I would like to welcome Altovise Peltzer to the podcast.
Hello, and thank you for having me on the podcast. How are you?
I am doing good, girl. I couldn't even get through all your accolades. I'm telling you.
I'm over here like, ooh, who is she talking about? That sounds like an amazing person. I want to meet her.
Right. And you know what? Everybody is amazing. You are amazing. And like I said, I see you all over social media, and some of the stuff I check out and some of the stuff I see you in. And I think it's amazing that you are really speaking out and using your voice to help people. So let's start from the beginning. Who is Altovise Peltzer? And, how did you get to where you are right now?
So I have to start with laying the foundation that I am an introvert. And so the normal quote unquote ways that people would go into finding their purpose and being in large crowds or going to all these conferences and things of that nature is not really how I found my niche. It hasn't been how I've been able to, build my brand and business. For me, I was molested as a child, but I never said anything. And then in 2009, I found out that my daughters had been molested. And I know that like most of your mouths just dropped open. It was an interesting thing to deal with because at the time I still had not told anyone that I myself had been molested. So imagine trying to help your children, your daughters heal and go through this healing process, and you haven't fully healed yourself. But I understand now that that process that I went through, it was for a purpose, because the women that I directly work with have been through abuse. They've been through molestation and rape, and a lot of them, they relate directly to my story. Now, in the beginning of me being an entrepreneur, I said, okay, well, I'm going to go and I'm a VA. I'm behind the scenes person. Never thought that I would be doing live streaming and podcasting and interviews and speaking. Like me, never. Not the introvert. I'd rather be on the couch reading a book, right? But, it was in 2015 that I had an intense conversation about trust with my oldest daughter. And I kind of blurted it out that I had been molested as well. And it was a moment that felt like a lifetime, where my daughter just looked at me and she cried and I cried, and she just held my hand in the moment. And it was later on that she said to me that was her most proud moment of me. Now, mind you, this is after, becoming a certified life coach and publishing books and being on stages. And she said her most proud moment was the moment that I told her that I had been molested as well. And that changed everything.
Wow. You know what? My mouth just dropped too. When you said it, I was like, are you serious? And I'm like, okay. All right. I don't even know where to begin. I'm going to tell you. Okay. So, first of all, I am so sorry that happened to you. And it also happened to your daughter. I know that was a very difficult thing to have to face, knowing that had happened, and just listening to your story is still empowering, because you're also talking about how your daughter just really looked up to you, seeing what you are now, and then telling her what you've been through, and just realizing the passion behind why you do what you do. To me, is like the ultimate mentor, that you have somebody that you can relate to, and all that. But not really trying to get into so many details, can you kind of speak on, some of the ways that you were able to overcome a situation like that and still become, somebody who wants to speak on stages and become out of your, get out of your introvert personality? Because I know I'm an introvert too. So I know how hard it is, because you do, from your perspective, talk about, how did you go from point A to point B without losing it?
And that's it right there, without losing it, right? Without going
without
crazy, without
exactly.
having the huggy jacket, without, being a hermit in my home with nothing but, Kit Kats and Twizzlers. But I found that it was more a thing of me being able to say, wow, if I could make my daughter have that sense of pride and be able to look at me in that way and know that she wasn't alone in what she had went through, then what can I do for other women? And in the conversations that I had been having, literally, I was finding out and hearing women say that they had not told anybody that they had ever been molested. Then they have never shared that they had gone through rape. That some of them had, their families had been ripped apart because of the molestation, because of the abuse. And so they never really talked about it. They never really had that freeing moment. And I said, okay, so it's either I share and I help other women to be able to get that same freeing moment that I was able to have, or I keep quiet and I allow women to die. And that's a powerful statement to think, or a powerful thing to think of, being able to have that much of an impact on people. But the reality is every day there is somebody somewhere that needs a blood transfusion, and you have the blood that they need through your story. So you choose whether they live or die. Each day that you don't share, every day that you don't walk in your purpose, every day that you don't write the book, every day that you humdrum and say somebody else can do it, that's another life that could have been lost, and it changed my mindset when I was at my job. I was still at a full-time job at the time. And I got a message online that a young lady, I'm in Maryland, and a young lady in Delaware, teenage girl, went to school, got into a fight in the bathroom, and lost her life over a boy.
My goodness.
And I said, who was supposed to be the one to step up and be the voice to tell them that they didn't have to fight over a boy? Who was supposed to be the one to step up and say, you are beautiful. You don't have to chase after one boy. You allow them to come to you. Who was the one that was supposed to say to them, you're supposed to be coming together and using each other as support in order to create this foundation instead of us being so distant? And who was supposed to be the one talking to the youth that were in the bathroom recording it at the time? And I know that after the fact that there were speakers and people that came onto the scene and that came and, supported the school and came and motivated them. But who was supposed to be there before? And I always, it always ricochets in my head. A statement that my pastor would say is that you're either reactive or proactive.
Right.
And I had to make that decision to be proactive.
Wow. I'm going to tell you, that's some powerful stuff. You got me sitting over here thinking, okay, I can actually visually see you standing there and speaking to a lot of women about your story and how powerful that is when you're talking about being reactive and who is going to step up. And you know what? A lot of people, and when I say people, I'm talking about women in particular, how we talk about how we want to get out of the situations we're in. And then we talk about how we're going to do it, but then we never really do it because, as you said, we're being more reactive than we are being proactive. And I want to encourage people to start thinking to be more proactive because that's how we're going to move forward. And you're totally correct in that. You mentioned earlier that you were working at another place. So what kind of profession were you doing before you became a speaker?
So I have been speaking for some time. I did a little bit of work with youth at my church, and I was doing little things here and there. But again, as the introvert, I never wanted to be in the forefront. I was always that pusher for everyone else. And so I was in retail management. I have over 20 years, I believe now, of management and customer service and retail experience. So I felt like that was always my place. I was always that helper that, I that's what I loved. I didn't always love the people that came in. Let's be honest. Let's be real. you definitely interesting.
I know.
Interesting dynamics, but I loved helping people. And I felt like that was, me. But it was interesting because I didn't feel it the same way anymore. There was something missing. I felt drained by the time when I got home, I was drained. I couldn't do things with my children. I couldn't, be the support that I needed to be for them. And so I started on this journey of saying, okay, what is it that I really need to be doing? Where is it that I really need to be? And I was literally at work and I had a woman come in and I can tell that she was a little distraught. And I said, wow, I don't know what's going on with this woman, but, let me, go and make sure she's okay. And she immediately started talking to me about how she had just witnessed her best friend be abused by her boyfriend. And that she had driven the best friend to the hospital. And now she was at a crossroads because she felt like the best friend was not going to tell the police who did it, that she was going to cover up for the boyfriend. And she said, do I say something or do I not say something? And I said, wow. Two things stood out for me in that moment. For one, this woman did not know me from a can of paint. But she felt comfortable enough in just meeting me to share what she was going through. And it started making me look back and think back on all of the people that have just showed up and started talking to me. I could be on a bus somewhere, on a plane. People would just have random conversations with me and tell me everything and anything. And I said, wow, that's something that I never really looked at as an asset, but it is. And then the second part was, this woman is really at a crossroads. Because if you step up to be that support for someone else, you never know how that's going to be taken. You never know if you're going to put your life in danger. You never know if someone's going to come after you or badmouth you, or if people are going to believe you. And I said, her speaking up to me and me listening and giving advice showed her that I believed her. A lot of women that have gone through abuse, the reason why they have not spoken up is because they feel no one will believe them. It's their word against the perpetrator's word.
Right. It's always been like that for years and years and years. But in your experience, and I'm sorry to interrupt you because it sounded so good, so I didn't want to interrupt you. But I always have this question, when, like you said earlier, are we going to turn the table and now speak up and continue to speak up? I know there's some women who do and they don't get that far, but there has to be a cutoff point, and that's why I really applauded a lot of the women that finally came out and said something. I wish they had said something sooner, but it has to be this thing where we have to just cut it off and just say, I'm not tolerating this anymore. I want this to stop. I want people to know what this person has done to me. When do we get to that point that women will finally step up?
I think we have to get to a point where we understand that the long-term effects outweigh the short-term gratification.
Mm.
Something that we've been taught is that people are supposed to pull themselves up by their own bootstrap. You're supposed to get over it. You're supposed to move on with life. When people go through abuse, that is not the case. Abuse is not something where you go to bed and when you wake up, you are whole or you are fixed or you are better. There are things that happen with emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. There are things that transpire. There are things that go on when you are abused. There are those who have low self-esteem. There are those who become an abuser. There are those who go and they take out that frustration on themselves through self-harm, like cutting or suicide attempts or drug abuse. There are those that become sex addicts. There are those that become strippers. There are those that become prostitutes. There are so many different ends of the spectrum, but because we don't talk about the other ends of the spectrum, we kind of shade it and just say, oh, no, you can get over it. So we don't give a clear understanding of what this process looks like. And then on the other scale, we have the fact that everybody has this negative connotation when it comes to therapy and counseling. And so counseling is a bad word. Therapy is a bad. You went to a therapist. Why? You could have went to the family and told them about your business, but they don't see what it does for you. I know that after my girls had been molested, I did go and seek counseling. I had counseling for them. We went and we did counseling with one of the deacons at our church. And it was in that conversation and it stuck out with me so till today, as if it happened yesterday. It was the freeing conversation that I needed because I needed someone who did not have a personal agenda when it came to my situation to be able to say something or speak something into me sometimes. And he said to my children, he showed them this fighter jet. And he said, this is who your mother is to you. She is to protect you. She is protecting you even now. She is this fighter jet for you. And even in what you're going through right now, That's who she is, and that's who she will continue to be. And it changed my mindset in it, because then I was like, wow, I can't quit. So I have to go to court. I have to do whatever is necessary so that their life is not a statistic of the negative, of the negative things that can happen when young girls are molested. I have to keep going.
Yeah, you got to keep going. I totally agree. Wow. I'm telling you, you're leaving me speechless over here, and I'm supposed to be. You're leaving me speechless. You really are. I'm telling you, because as I'm listening to you talk, I mean, some people who have heard my podcast last year heard, they got little mentions where I had mentioned my struggles with abuse in a different way. Okay. And so every time that I think about it, I have my own processes too to say, this is enough, that I have to keep going. I can't allow, this kind of thing to affect me. And I have to go back to my own practices and say, I have the control and navigation of my own life, my own destiny, and how I'm going to live it. And I think that as like people like yourself and other women who I know that is out there, if we just continue to exude this, this empowerment behavior and get people to see whatever it is that they need for themselves, I think that that would be fantastic. And that's why I do what I do here, not just for the profession, but just sharing your story in general, because there is somebody out there who really needs to hear what you're saying right now, and how you're able to kind of just say, I got to keep going. I have to do what's right for me and my daughter, and things like that. And you definitely have done it. You definitely has done it for what I can see right now. And that actually leads to my next question. That thing, that passion that you have kind of got you to doing public speaking and things like that. And then you also wrote a book. So, kind of want you to talk about how, you came up with the concept of your book. It's called Leverage, and the Hold My Hand concept of business culture and families. So, if you could talk a little bit about that too, I'm very interested to know more about that transition in your life.
So, the first book that I did was It's Okay to Cry. And that book took 8 years to write, because I was that person that I'm going to write it, and this is the date I'm going to have it by. And then the date would come and the date would go. And I still didn't have the book done. And it was because I was still going through that process we had talked about earlier. I was still going through that healing. I was still going through all of those things. And I finally got the first book done, and I was excited. And, here it is. This is book number 8, which is Leverage. And it's Leverage, the Hold My Hand concept in business, culture, and families. And I found that literally there is this hold my hand concept that we've kind of gotten screwed. We've gotten it misconstrued in our heads. We've gotten it wrong. And the beginning of last year, I did a speech in New Jersey, and the name of the speech was Hold My Hand. And I talked about, the fact that we needed to come back together and holding each other accountable and holding each other's hand. You never know whose hand you're holding, and how the support of you holding their hand will help them create and achieve their goals. And throughout last year, I looked at some of the other things that had been going on, and I looked at my own life, and I said, wow, there are not only moments where we need to start going back to holding each other's hand, but there's some things that we've been holding on to that we need to let go of. And I, it was that process of, I don't know, we get nervous because it's not really a topic that people want to discuss. They don't want to talk about it. But one of those things was we get complacent with things like public assistance. We get complacent with, just a lot of things. We take things for granted, like scholarships and opportunities to go to college for free. And we take so many things for granted, and there's some things that we need to reevaluate and we need to adjust in.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, for sure. I know one of the things that helped me in the situation that I was in was that I wrote my book Empower Thyself to talk about how I kind of overcame some of those things and using that as a tool to not only just keep me focused and grounded, but also help other women too who feel like that they're stuck as well. I think that there's a lot of times as we talked about this whole thing and writing your book and everything that we definitely have to keep people grounded and knowing that they have a way out. And I'm seeing that a lot with a lot of younger people and families that they feel like they have no choice for anything. Just like the example of the shooting that happened today or the other day. People feel like they just have no choice. But at the same time, it's just one of those things where I kind of feel like it's just going to be never ending. But like you, like me, like so many other women who have stepped out and also is participating in this podcast, because you notice there's a lot of women that's showing a lot of power. We have to keep moving forward and holding their hand and leveraging. And I really would like to get your book so I can learn more about what you wrote.
Definitely. I'll make sure I send you a copy.
That's right. And if anybody else is listening, you need to get yourself a copy because as you can tell, this is a very powerful conversation we're having here because it's very serious. Our children are experiencing so many different levels of abuse. When I was growing up, there was no such thing. There was no such thing as things like that. And if it did happen, it was like very so often. It wasn't as much as it is now. We have so many young people experiencing bullying, molestation, child abuse, all sorts of stuff that they really should not be doing. And if there is anything or anybody on this platform or out there listening, I want to encourage you to really just step up and be a voice, just like, Altovise said, be a voice, step up. Who is going to be that person that's going to make sure that that person doesn't lose their life or they don't lose their virginity or their innocence? Because we have to get back to being sensitive to life, being precious. And we're not doing that anymore. We're literally desensitized to life being precious, and it's really a sad thing. Okay, so I'm gonna stop being sad right now because I was getting a little sad. So is there anything that you want to talk about in terms of like your speaking or anything that you want people to know about the services that you provide that you feel will be helpful in this space right now for those who are listening?
So what I do is I do a program a couple times a year, and it's called Define Your Voice. And it was also the title of my second book. And it literally is the process that I went through in rebranding myself and determining what I was going to do. But it also allowed me to use the pivotal moments in my life as a stepping stone and springboard, as opposed to, shackles or stumbling blocks. It allowed me to use those things in a way that has built the foundation for my brand. And for me, that was speaking and writing and coaching other women who had been through abuse. I was able to use my story to help them. And that's what I take other women, through that process, because I say to people all the time, not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody is meant to be an author. Not everybody is meant to be a speaker. But if you learn to define your unique voice may put you in the position to be a baker. Your unique voice may put you in the position to be in the government. Your unique voice may put you in position to open up a community center. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're speaking or that you're going to become the author, but there's something unique to you that allows you to stand out. And I help women to see that, because a lot of times let's be honest, we are our own worst critic. And what we see in ourselves is often not what other people see.
Right. That is correct. I wasn't interrupting you. I was just agreeing with you because that is true. We are also highly competitive, which we shouldn't. But I think part of that is just insecurities that we are working on internally. And because my opinion, we are so feeling thinking individuals, most of the time our feelings get in the way. of a lot of stuff, and then it gets in our heads, and then we stop ourselves from doing things that we shouldn't do. So any other services or things that you want to kind of let everybody know about?
So I also have courses if you're looking to be the speaker, as well as I have an accountability group. So I found that in this day and age, we have, varying degrees of people trying to determine if this whole coaching thing is realistic, if it's something that helps, if it's not something that works, if it is something that works. And so what I did was, one of the things I set up was an accountability group, and we meet every Saturday. It's bit.ly/get reactivated. And we meet every Saturday just to talk about what goals you have done last week, what goals you need to do for the next week, and literally how you're going to do that. It's a community, that's the other thing. Because I'm an introvert, I do small groups. I don't do large groups, but it's a small group of entrepreneurs, of startups, of speakers and authors who are getting themselves out there, who are literally trying to build from the ground up. And we go over all different types of things from week to week, but it's the community that you need. So when you're going live, you have people who come to your live broadcast and share it out and engage. When you're launching your book, you have a cheerleading squad that's, rah-rahing for you, and they got the pom-poms out. And I found that on this journey as an entrepreneur, literally come into the journey sometimes thinking that our family and our close friends are going that support us. We feel as though they're going to be the ones that are going to be buying all of our books and showing up at all our broadcasts and showing up for all our events, and they're going to pay for everything, right?
Nope.
But
Not a chance. Not a chance.
But it doesn't work out that way.
Nope.
And so that was one of the reasons why I created the Reactivate toolkit, called the Reactivate Me Community, is because you need those people on the sidelines. That's your cheerleaders. Because when you have to think about it, when you're in a race, the people on the sidelines that are cheering you on, most of them do not even know your name. When you get to the finish line, the people high-fiving you, they don't know your name, but they're glad that you made it to the finish line.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You want to tell everybody where you're having these things, because I'm pretty sure that somebody is going to be interested in coming out to attend one of your mentor sessions, because that's a great idea to go over goals. People need that to stay focused.
Definitely. So the Reactivate group is a virtual community. So you can be anywhere in the US, anywhere in the world, and join us. You would just go to that link, the bit.ly/get reactivated. All of my webinars and things, you can go right to the store, and that's bit.ly/speak loud. And like I said, it's women from all over. And when I do my live events, we get to meet up with each other and communicate and hug on each other and, give each other high fives in person as well. So you definitely get the support that you need.
Fabulous, fabulous. Okay, so we are coming down to the end of your interview, and thank you so much for sharing that. I'm telling you, you got me a little flustered over here, though. I'm telling you, you really do, listening to your story, because I think that you are so brave and amazing, and I just love everything that you said. Tell everybody where they can find you as far as social media concerned, or if you want to give out a phone number where people can contact you directly if they would like to have you come out and speak.
Definitely. So if you want to connect with me directly by phone, it's 443-406-6928. That is my business line. And then on social media, I'm at Find Your Voice Now, pretty much everywhere. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Periscope. You can find me on any of those platforms. And then on Twitter, I'm at The Voice Coach. Right now, I'm very active on Facebook and LinkedIn. So if you shoot me a message on any of those platforms, I'll definitely respond to you within 24 hours.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. You heard it right here. Have her information right here on this page. All the links that she just said in this interview is going to be on her page below. So please reach out to her and connect with her, attend one of her groups, go to one of her events, purchase her book. And if you know anyone that could use some of the service and empowering words that she has to offer, please reach out, because that is another way that we can step up. So with that, Altovise, I would like to thank you for being on the podcast and sharing your story. I want to thank you so much for supporting this platform and continuing to be part of the movement.
I appreciate it, and thank you so much for having me.